Hey everyone, I'm Belle Reid and welcome back. I recently led a live workshop in which I shared some of my favorite techniques for synthesizing rich, evolving, complex sounds using very simple synthesis building blocks. Especially if you are new to the world of synthesis, you might think that in order to create complex and rich sounds, you either need super fancy, super expensive gear, or you need PhD level sound design skills. And the truth is that neither of those are actually necessary. Most of my personal favorite sound design techniques actually only involve 2 or 3 really simple tools. And many of the tools that I love to use are completely free. So for today's video, I wanted to share the replay of the live workshop that I ran on this topic. Because it was a live training, the video and audio quality isn't quite as high as it usually is with my videos, but I still feel like it presents some interesting ideas, so I wanted to share. All right, so with all that said, here's the replay of the workshop. Hello, what's up everyone? Welcome to today's live training on 3 tricks to synthesize complex sounds using simple tools. I am so excited to be here doing a live tutorial with you all today. We're going to be talking about sound design, modular synthesis, and I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways that you can use really simple building blocks to create a huge range of rich, complex, dynamic tones and sounds. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Belle Reid. I'm a musician who plays trumpet and modular synthesizer, and I'm also an educator and a coach for people who want to elevate their music making skills, for people who want to learn how to make music with modular synthesizers, and for people who want to expand their sound design toolkit and skills so that they can design their own custom sounds from scratch and so that they can make more music that they love and that sounds uniquely like them. So before we jump in to the 3 little tricks that I'm going to be showing with you to synthesize complex sounds with simple tools, I just want to say hi to everyone who is tuning in live. If you're here live, go ahead and say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. You can see, maybe you can see my cat currently trying to climb the blinds behind me. That's the beauty of a live stream. You never know exactly what's going to happen. If you're watching the replay in the future, welcome to you too. Go ahead and comment replay. Let me know where you're tuning in from so that I can say hi to you in the future. All right, so the reason why this topic is important, the reason why I wanted to do a live training on this today is that I know so many of you in this community who are watching are insanely creative people who have big ambitions and big goals when it comes to making music. Chances are that many of you who are watching have something in particular that you want to do that's new for you this year. Maybe you want to learn a new skill, a new instrument. Maybe you want to release a new album. Maybe you want to start a live performance practice, or you just want to, start jamming with your friends or whatever it might be, which is all awesome. And something that I have myself experienced, and I've seen that other people can fall into, is a little bit of a trap when we start to think too much or equate our creative potential and our potential for creative growth with the tools that we have. So this is really why I wanted to focus on a tutorial that emphasizes simple tools and simple building blocks. A mistake that I see people making a lot when it comes to working with synthesizers and modular synths is that people can tend to think that complex sounds come from complex gear, and that the fancier the equipment you have, the better your sounds will be. Just let me know in the chat if this is something you've ever felt, whether or not you maybe believe it, if it's something you've heard or something you felt for yourself. The problem with this, of course, is that people can start to feel like maybe they don't have the right stuff, maybe they're not ready, and they can hold themselves back from even getting started because they might feel behind. Oh, I don't have the right studio yet, or I don't have the right instrument yet. So I have to delay my music making that I want to do, right? If you think that in order to make new sounds and in order to expand your sound design and your music making, you always need a new piece of gear. You're going to end up reaching for a lot of gear over and over and over again. And don't get me wrong, just like maybe all of you, I love a great instrument. It can make a big difference. But I think about this kind of like if you have a bucket and it has a lot of holes in it, and you're filling it with water and more and more and more water. It doesn't really matter how much water you put in. If there are leaks, if there are cracks in the bucket, it's going to leak everywhere and you're never going to feel full. You're never going to get to what you're going for. So instead, what I really want to offer, and hopefully we can get started today, is a different perspective, which is that simple tools, free tools, basic building blocks, when used in a clever and creative way, can lead you to a huge range of beautiful, deep, evolving sounds. So really, if you have big goals and you want to take your synthesis to the next level and you want to take your music to the next level, really what is the most valuable thing to focus on is cultivating a deep understanding of synthesis fundamentals. It might not be quite as fun as getting the new module off the shelf, but it is the fundamentals, the basic building blocks. When you become fluent in those, I promise you that everything will open up and you will have so much more nuance and control over the sounds that you're imagining, and you'll know how to bring them into the world. Okay. This is really, really important because, all of you who are watching have so much creativity within you. You have amazing ideas. You have all of these things that you want to do. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't start working toward those and making that music and doing all of that right now. There's no reason why the tools that you have or do not have should prevent you from starting to make the music that you want to make. Okay. It's about what you do with the tools, not about the tools you have. Let me know in the chat if this is resonating with you. Drop a little emoji or something if this is if this is connecting with you. So this is what we are going to be doing today. I'm going to show you 3 different ideas, 3 different patches, modular synth patches that use only a couple of modules. And I'm only going to be using very basic tools. I'm going to be using a program called VCV Rack, which is free. You can download it and use it on your computer for free as well. And I'm only going to be using free modules. And in fact, to drive my point home, I'm actually going to focus on using arguably the simplest of all synthesis tools, which is just a sine wave generator. Okay. And we're just going to see what we can do with sine waves, which a lot of people kind of just look at as so basic. What could you do that's interesting with those? And we're going to use that as the core part of our patches for today. So let me know if you're ready. Drop a thumbs up or an emoji or a ready or something like that in the chat. I'm just going to look in and check in with people. Yes. Okay. I'm seeing lots of things. Amazing. Great. Someone says, I had a huge creative block making a melody with modular. For years, it held you back. Yes. Great. So I can completely relate to this. And there are a lot of amazing things that we're going to be able to check out. So I'm going to pull up lots of love for the cat as well. Some people are saying hello. Yes, she's always here. She's kind of my production assistant. So we love a good synth cat. So I'm just going to pull up VCV Rock on the screen. I'm going to do a really quick sound check with a sine wave, appropriately so. Let me know if you can hear this. Hopefully you can. Hopefully you heard a little sine wave coming through. I am just going to come back over here and make sure that that is coming through. Amazing. Sounds like it is. If we get through this without a technical glitch, it will be an amazing thing. Let's see. We'll improvise either way. Okay, so some of you in the chat might be familiar with some of these ideas. Some of you might be totally brand new to this. Wherever you are with things, you are welcome to be here. And if you have questions along the way, definitely let me know and I will do my best to clarify things as we go. So I'm just going to zoom in a little so that folks who are watching on phones can hopefully see everything. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk to you about is a concept that is called audio rate modulation. This, again, something that I'm sure some of you have heard about. Maybe some others are like, what are those words she just said? In synthesis, the idea of modulation, the concept of modulation is when you use a signal from one area or one source to automatically manipulate some parameter of another module in your synth. So for example, you could modulate the pitch of an oscillator with a signal that goes up and down, and you would make the pitch automatically go up and down, okay? Audio rate modulation is a special kind of modulation where we basically use two sound sources, or we use a sound source to modulate another sound source. The reason why this is so interesting, as you'll hear in a moment, it just is like an instant recipe for getting to some really complex sounds, really rich timbres and tone colors. So as you can hear, I have this oscillator. This is a sine wave. I'll show it to you on the scope, just so we can visualize things too. Let me see if I can, there we go. So this is a sine wave. It sounds like this. Okay, this one over here, it's also a sine wave. It's actually, to start, let's put them at the exact same frequency. So these are the same sine wave. Very, very basic, you know, nothing too colorful yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sine wave from this second oscillator and I'm going to use it to modulate the frequency or the pitch of this oscillator. All right, let's turn up the level here. You can already see on the scope that the visual we're getting is much more complex, right? I'm going to turn the knob up here and we're going to take a listen. So let me know what you notice. Let me know in the chat what you notice. Also, let me know if that volume level is okay. What do you notice about that sound now that we're doing the modulation? Sounds a little different, right? I'm going to go back and I'm going to start to change some parameters to make it even a little bit more complex. Let me pop back over in the chat here and see if people are sharing some things, some thoughts. All right. So are you noticing that this simple technique of using one sine wave to modulate the frequency of another is creating a very different sound, right? Yeah, people are saying fun. It has all of this complexity. I'm going to add a really basic, just a simple little envelope, attack decay envelope, just a little something to give us some articulation, okay? This is one of my favorite ways to create kind of like bell tone like sounds, things that, you know, sound like a bell ringing or some kind of strange metallic object. All right, let's listen to this. So I just turned a couple of knobs to give you a little bit of a range of what's possible there sonically. Yeah, people are saying DX7. There's a lot of stuff here. So again, all we're using is two sine waves and we've got a simple little envelope, but we have access to this really wide range of sound. Let me check in on the chat, See what people are saying. Yeah, waves, not a smooth line, bumps against each other. Exactly. Okay, so this is the first thing that you can try. You can turn a simple sine wave into something that sounds really kind of buzzy. It can sound metallic. It can sound warm. What I really encourage you to try with this is to play around. You know, set the oscillators high, set them low, set one high and one low. This is how you're going to really get to develop a sensitivity to this technique, and you're going to be amazed by how much you find. Someone's asking what's next to the scope. That's just a little envelope that is allowing me to create an articulation for the sound. Okay, so the first technique is this audio rate modulation. I showed you audio rate frequency modulation. This is the tip of the iceberg. We're going to be here for like 6 hours if I show you everything that's possible with this, but I wanted to just introduce you to the concept so that you can try it on your own and you can keep experimenting on your own. I'm going to take it one step further and I'm going to tell you about the second technique, which is one of my absolute favorite sound design techniques in the world, which is cross modulation. We actually only need to add one single cable in order to go from this audio rate modulation setup to cross modulation. Okay, so we're going to do it. The idea behind cross modulation, I'm going to remove this envelope for a second. So let me walk you through what we've done so far, right? So far, we have a sine wave and we are modulating it with another sine wave. We have our modulation going in one direction, right? Cross modulation, the idea behind it is that you use one oscillator to modulate another, and then you use that same oscillator to modulate the first one back. You are crossing the modulation. You're creating a feedback loop between the two oscillators. When I make this connection here between this sine wave oscillator and this one, things are going to get crazy really, really fast. It's going to be very chaotic. It's going to be very unstable. It's going to be noisy. And that's because we're creating a feedback loop between these two oscillators. I'm going to do this in a second, and I want you to listen, and I want you to remember that what you're listening to is a basic sine wave. That's what you're hearing. But because of the way that we're modulating these two together, you're going to hear a huge range of kind of, in my opinion, beautiful, crazy, chaotic sounds. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here's our one direction modulation, which already sounds pretty cool. Now I'm going to cross modulate. So as I'm playing around here, let me know what you hear. Let me know what images come to mind. We've got some like radio interference type sounds, some staticky sounds. We've got probably some crazy little mischievous critters running around. Just let me know what you hear. I know that's a lot. I know it's chaotic. I'm going to show you a technique, one of my favorite techniques for kind of reining it in just a minute, but let me check in on the chat to see how people are feeling. People say, okay, let's see what you are hearing. Got some little fire emojis. All right. Can you have the FM modulation track 1 volt per octave? If you turn that attenuator all the way up, you can, or you could use the volt per octave input. Deanna is saying it sounds creepy. I completely can, I understand. I can agree with that. A glorious racket. Ocean sounds. Yes, totally. There's some wind in there. There's static. Someone says alien ocean. I love that. So hopefully what you're seeing here, though, is from a sound designer's perspective. This is gold. We're using one sine wave. We're using another sine wave to modulate it. We're cross-modulating them, and we are getting so much. So much. Some people would probably think in order to get to half of these sounds, you would need like 15 modules, right? Now, Some of you are probably thinking, okay, Sarah, that's cool, crazy sound, but like, why would that be useful to me? What would I do with that in my music? I personally love these sounds and think that they are interesting to listen to on their own. But I also understand if it doesn't necessarily fit into your music as is. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and add a short envelope, a little percussive envelope onto this crazy sound. And I'm going to show you how quickly it can transform into a really interesting kind of glitchy digital drum sound. Okay, so here's this crazy sound again. Now let's go ahead and drop a little attack decay envelope on it to make it like a little bit more of a drum. Okay, hopefully I've convinced some of you, you can see the kind of potential of this. If you want to make, unique, glitchy, digital drum sounds, this is a great way to do it. You don't necessarily need to go out and buy a drum synth. Of course, drum machines, drum synths have a very different quality of sound. They can be really fun and useful to use as well. But 2 sine waves, cross-modulated, a little attack decay envelope, and we have a huge range of sounds. What's really fun with this, in my opinion, is that you can also deviate very easily from that drum sound, and you can turn it into kind of something that's more like waves or swells. And so on. Let me know in the chat if this is all making sense so far. All right. Someone says it sounds more like a complex drum instead of just using noise. Yeah, absolutely. One of the most common ways of synthesizing like a hi-hat or a snare is just to use like, a different colored noise. That's a fine way of doing it, but this is a way of getting to an even more complex sound with arguably just as simple tools. Okay, Overlander says squeaky squonks. Yep, we love those. Absolutely. Okay, so I am going to show you one more. We've gone through 2 techniques already. You can see how they build on each other. First, audio rate modulation. It's something that people overlook. It's something that people, you might think it's too simple. If you take time to really listen, explore the extremes, try different wave shapes, you are going to be amazed by how much you find. The second thing that we did was we added one more cable to turn that one direction audio rate modulation into 2 direction. We cross modulated it, right? The third thing I want to show you is how you can use this as a modulation source instead of a sound source. Okay, we're going to take it one step further. So what I'm going to do to set this patch up, just for now, I'm going to temporarily kind of unpatch a couple things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a simple oscillator and I'm going to run it into a filter. So let me grab a filter. I'm going to run it into a filter. So here we go. We're going to get an oscillator into a filter. We're going to take our filter so we can hear it. There it is. Beautiful. Now we still have this cross-modulated pair of sine waves over here, chugging along, making a crazy, feedback pattern. So what I want to do with those is I'm going to use that to actually modulate my filter. All right. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to just play with different shapes and I'm going to use it to modulate the cutoff of the filter. What this is going to give us, instead of a crazy alien ocean, squeaky squonk type sound, as you were saying, this is going to be a lot more subtle. What we're going to hear is a droning oscillator going into a filter, but the filter is going to be getting brighter and darker in this kind of chaotic way. And we're going to end up with these kind of really interesting dynamic patterns that that might be difficult otherwise to create if we were just using, more standard modulation sources. Okay, let's take a little listen to this. All right, I'm going to check back in on the chat, make sure that this is all coming through and making sense. So can you see how we're now using this chaotic feedback shape? We're using it to modulate a parameter. And now all of a sudden, this basic filter that would normally just be like a static drone, it has all this animation. It has all this life to it. So let me know. I'm curious to hear from folks in the chat. Which one of these three things do you think you are going to go try? Are you going to try the audio rate modulation, using one oscillator to audio rate modulate another? Are you going to try the cross modulation? Or are you going to try using the cross modulation as a modulation source? Drop a 1 or 2 or a 3 in the chat to let me know. Number 1, audio rate modulation. Number 2, cross modulation. Or number 3, cross mod as a modulation source. I also want to remind you all, if you're new to this and it feels like it's going a bit fast, you can rewatch this tutorial. It will be posted for you on whatever platform you're watching it on right now. So you can go ahead and watch it again. And if you have questions as you're going through and something's not making sense, you can leave a comment below and I will do my my best to help you out. Okay, so we have someone says, Deanna Joan Music says all of the above. I love it. Why not try them all out? That's great. Zash Chanel says number 3. Awesome. Number 2, number 1. Yeah, cross mod as modulation source. Amazing. Amazing. We got number 3. We got a number 2. Great. Ronnie, I'm glad that you're enjoying this. That's wonderful. So yeah, I'm really glad that this was helpful and inspiring for all of you. I think the main thing that I want to leave you with, just to remind you of once again, is these are all simple tools. These are arguably the simplest kind of building blocks of synthesis. This is a free program. You can go download it right now. It's called VCV Rack. This is the program that I use with my students inside of all of my classes. My point with coming on here and my goal with coming on here for this training today was to just inspire and remind you that you don't need a studio full of fancy gear in order to make amazing sounds. And you certainly don't need anything other than a computer and a willingness to try things out to get started making the music you want to make and developing your sound design skills. Okay. I have a lot more tutorials on my pages that can help you get started. If you're brand new to this and this feels a little overwhelming, don't get discouraged. Send me a DM and say, hey, I'm brand new. Where can I start? And I will send you some resources to help you get started. Okay. So if all of this is something that resonated with you, if you're excited to go deeper into this, I just want you to stick around for one more minute because I have something I want to tell you about. And I also have a little information about something kind of special that I'm offering, which is a little gift, a little free training that you can access. So this is for you if you are someone who is interested in learning how to make music with modular synths, learning how to design your own sounds from scratch. Maybe you've been learning with YouTube videos for a while. Maybe you're self-taught. Maybe you have some synths and things are going well and you're just ready to really take it seriously and dive deep into it. Maybe you're a complete beginner and you're just ready for a structured, supportive process to help you learn these instruments and finally, cut through all of the technical nitty-gritty overwhelm so that you can make the music that you want to be making. I want to tell you about my modular synthesis class, which is called Learning Sound and Synthesis. Learning Sound and Synthesis is my online program that will teach you everything you need to know to make music with modular synths. Even if you are a complete beginner, even if you have no gear, even if you have no music theory training background, it will set you up and guide you through everything step by step. How exactly do I help you do this inside of Learning Sound and Synthesis? I want to just break it down really briefly for you. The first thing that I do, it's a little different actually than a lot of other resources that are out there. The first thing that I do is I introduce you to a new way of thinking about sound itself, okay? How it works, how we hear it, how we can actually break it down into simple building blocks. You're probably sensing a theme. I like simplicity. I think simplicity is one of the most powerful things that we can harness as musicians and sound designers. So I'll walk you through how to break sound itself down into basic building blocks so that you really know how to work with it in your music making. Even if you've never composed before or have no formal music training, this step of the process is going to open up your ears and your mind in really new ways. It's going to help you hear things with more detail than you ever have before, which is going to help you create music with more intention. Once you go through this, you're going to feel really supercharged creatively and inspired to create your own music and sounds, which is exactly what you're going to do next. So the second part of the process, I'm going to walk you through all of the synthesis fundamentals that you need in order to master working with modular synths. You're going to gain a deep technical knowledge of all of the tools and techniques that you need to build your own patches completely from scratch. If you've been feeling overwhelmed and confused by synthesis, which by the way is normal, it's okay. I used to feel that way too. This is where the clouds are going to start to part for you. You are going to feel clarity on how these techniques work, and you're going to know exactly what tool to reach for to create the specific sounds that you have in your mind. And you'll know how to use them. And then once you are up and running and you're making sounds and you know how they work and you know how the tools work, I'm going to guide you through bringing those ideas and those patches into your music, whether you're interested in making generative music, techno, dance, another kind of dance music, if you want to make experimental sound design, if you want to make improvised noise music or anything in between, okay? So if that sounds exciting to you, I just want to invite you to join the waitlist for the upcoming round of Learning Sound and Synthesis. The next round opens up in mid-February, but what you can do today is you can join the waitlist. And joining the waitlist will mean two big things for you, actually. There's a couple really big benefits. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop the link here in the chat to the waitlist. If I can figure out how to type it. I'm going to try soundandsynthesis.com, and I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is the Learning Sound and Synthesis waitlist. You can go to soundandsynthesis.com, and there's two big benefits from joining the waitlist early. Number one, you're going to be the first to hear when enrollment opens, and you're actually going to get to secure your spot early during the early bird window, which is only for waitlisters. This also means that you're going to get to start the class early before anyone else and just get up and running sooner. The second thing is when you join the waitlist and you enroll in Learning Sound and Synthesis during the early bird window, you're going to get an entire extra class for free. That class is my live performance with modular synths training. It's a masterclass that I put together all about live performance, how to build patches for live performance, how to think about interaction with your modular for live performance, how to structure and pace a live performance. I also get into how to work through things like performance anxiety and stage fright, how to prepare technically, how to prepare musically. It is a very, very complete masterclass that will walk you through everything you need, even if you've never performed before, to make sure that you are set up to be able to do that with success. So that is a waitlist only bonus. So if you're curious about that, you think you want to learn more about the class, you know you like the idea of the live performance bonus, the best thing to do is just drop your email onto the waitlist at soundandsynthesis.com, and then you will have access to that free training when you enroll in Learning Sound Synthesis during the early bird window. And that is it. If you have questions about any of the things that I covered today in this training, if you try them out and you have questions, you want to know how to go further, send me a DM. If you have questions about learning sound and synthesis and whether it's the right whether it is the right class for you or what's involved, you can send me a DM there as well. And I would be more than happy to chat more. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend ahead. For those of you who are in cold places like I am, I hope you stay warm. And I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for joining and take care. As always, thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I'll see you next time.